Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of BC Buckets. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Colin Mitchell. Colin, today we have Dariq Whitehead from Duke, 6'6", freshman, a touch under 19 years old. I mean, I'll start it off. You don't even have to start.
Okay.
43% from three, 45% on catch and shoot threes. He got better against better competition. If you go look at, I was on KenPom looking through the Tier A, Tier B competition. He shot 50% from three in 18 games against top 100 teams. I mean, shooting wise, I feel like we're not talking enough about how good he is because we got obsessed with Nigel Hawkins, Grady Dick, Jett Howard. Um, are we not talking enough about Dariq Whitehead as a potential shooter and potential scorer this year?
I think because I was thinking about this as well because I was like, dang, these numbers look great. I think the thing that puts those other shooters above him is their upside in other places. I'm not saying that Dariq Whitehead doesn't have that upside. Like, for example, like Dariq Whitehead's creation, I think, is better than any shooter that we've talked about up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that his ability to do, like, for the catch and shoot, for example, like Grady Dick, Jordan Hawkins, Jett Howard, they all relocate really well. They can be used off of more than just sitting in the corner. They can
Mm-hmm.
also cut really well, things like that. Whereas I don't think Dariq Whitehead's the type of cutter or not even athlete that those other guys are because of his injury. Like he had 44, he was 44% in the half court at the rim. There's like no rim pressure with him. He below the rim right now because he can't get up. Obviously, he kind of played through the injury because he just got a second surgery. But I feel like it's like a tweener in what he has to be in the NBA. Like, is he going to be like a corner guy, a 3-and-D guy? Is he going to be like a Harrison Barnes type guy? Is he going to be a secondary ball handler? I mean, it really depends on what he ends up being, and it's hard for me to kind of see any of those things.
The injury is obviously the swing factor here. Like
Right.
that's he had a foot fracture that required surgery in August. Then he had a second surgery um after that. So we're talking about a guy who's gone through it with his foot recently. This is very recent. And as a result, like you said, he doesn't get to the rim. He does not an efficient finisher right now. But we're also talking about a guy who was number 2 in his class
Right. Like supposed to be top 5 pick if he doesn't have this
last year.
Jones fracture in his foot.
Exactly. So it's what are we betting on here? We're betting on him as a shooter and as a scorer, which is clearly there. Like we're talking about if he doesn't get hurt, think about the scoring potential
Right.
that we're talking about here. He
I'm not
only averaged
disagreeing.
8 points per game, on 42% shooting, 43%. Like he shot better from three than he did from two. Like this is a guy who clearly has the touch to be a shooter and a scorer. He's played a ton of high level basketball at Montverde and EYBL circuit, high school player of the year last year. Like then I also want to give him credit because I think defensively he's better than what a lot of people give him credit for. I think he actually has real upside defensively. Again, it all goes back to how athletic can he be and how does that burst? How is that burst off of the foot? Give him another year or two, can he get back to even 90% of the athlete that he was?
Right.
Ultimately, though, I'm okay betting on that, but I'm also okay with saying I think he has a really high floor because
Yes, I agree he's a high floor.
even if he doesn't become an explosive athlete, I think he defends well enough, and I think he's going to be a very, very good shooter, both in the mid range and from three. I think he's going to be able to fill it up regardless of the pressure he puts on the rim. Because in reality, I have written down for my comps Gary Trent and Chris Middleton,
I
and
like the Chris Middleton one.
I'm like, how much like they get to the rim, but at the same time, how explosive are they as athletes? I mean, he's 6'6". It's not like he's small.
Right.
So that's where I'm okay betting on his talent from high school to AAU to where Duke this past year was a really weird team, as we talked about when we did Derek Lively. But he still found a role despite the injuries. He's just too talented. He's not even 19 years old yet. Like
Third
I
youngest player in
am
the draft.
What was that?
Apparently, he's the third youngest player in the draft.
Third youngest? I mean, yeah, that makes sense because we've looked at a few that are under 19. He's one of them. So that's for all those reasons. I'm actually pretty damn high on Dariq Whitehead.
Where do you have him?
18.
I have him 19.
So you're not as high as I am. Good to know. Good to know.
No, I mean,
Okay, I have him one spot below Jordan Hawkins right now.
like below in terms of like you have Jordan Hawkins 17.
18. 17, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I have him above Bilal Coulibaly, I have him above Nick Smith, which I guess probably isn't a whole lot. I mean, I buy the floor. I hate messing with athletes' foot injuries. Foot injuries scare me. Like if there was a injury that scares me the most, it's a foot injury. You know, guys don't lose a ton of athleticism. If it's a back thing, you rest, whatever, blah blah blah. Obviously, it's reoccurring. The problem is getting a Jones fracture at such a young age. And obviously, I'd like to stress too, just in case people don't know, the second surgery was not because he got another one. It's because the first surgery wasn't done right. So
Yeah.
like it was fine. His foot's fine. It's just they're making sure that it's fine going to the NBA. So, like you said, it really just is predicated on his athleticism. And if he can get 90% of the athlete he was, I think it's very high upside. And then you start getting into the territory of like a Chris Middleton, where he's borderline all-star, second best player on a championship caliber team. I think he turns more into a Harrison Barnes type player.
Is that your comp?
That's my comp.
I'm cool with that.
Which is still a fine player. Like it's a really good player. It's just what do you buy the upside of his athleticism coming back? Because I
If
think he
I'm
has
outside
everything
the
else.
lottery, I'm taking a swing on this.
Oh yeah, but
Man.
that's what I mean. That's why I don't have him in the lottery, right? Like because some people do.
Do they? I haven't looked. I haven't looked at a bunch of mocks.
But yeah, he's been moving up recently, I guess.
Oh, has he? Good for him. Good for him. Because I maybe he moves up on my board by the end of it. I don't know. He just
I tried putting him in my lottery. Like I was thinking, I was like, let me think here.
again, I just don't think I could put him above Jordan Hawkins right now. I have Maxwell Lewis above him.
I as well
Like
have Maxwell Lewis above him.
like I want to. Dariq, if you're watching, I want to. I
Well,
will
it's
be the
because
happiest person.
if there was a guarantee that he has 85% of his athleticism that he had in high school, boom, he's moves up 6-7 spots for me.
He probably moves up to like 12 for me.
That's what I
Like,
mean.
yeah,
Yeah,
like 11, 10, 12, something like
yeah,
in that range. Because I'm just again I'm perfectly fine betting on his upside here. He's played too much high level basketball and been the best player on the court in a lot of those games.
yeah,
And there is a very very real, I mean, tangible translation when that happens. When you see Cade Cunningham go from Montverde to Oklahoma State to here, like obviously Dariq Whitehead's role wasn't as big as you wanted it to be there at Duke, and so I have like flashbacks of like Cam Reddish in a sense where Cam Reddish was the number 3 player out of high school, and then went to Duke with Zion and RJ and was not utilized a bunch, and then he went to the NBA and hasn't thrived yet. I think he can still be a good player, but I think Dariq Whitehead has a floor that's high enough to bet on, and
yeah,
and a ceiling, to be honest. But even though I don't think the ceiling is like, I don't think he can be Devin Booker,
yeah,
but I do think he could be Chris Middleton, and
yeah. I
that's
agree.
realistic. So, the turnovers were actually pretty bad. I want to mention that because that's one thing. 20% turnover rate to a 9% assist rate is not good at all. So we'll have to see him get better with the ball in his hands as far as a creator goes and creating for himself to a degree. Again, that goes back to the burst, athleticism. We'll have to see if he could draw fouls at the next level, all that stuff. 1 assist per game. Right now, he's just a scorer,
Yeah,
and the rest will have to develop. But he's not even 19 years old yet, and so he's just got to get healthy. That's the first thing. Get healthy, go from there.
yep, I agree.
All right. That's all we got for y'all today. Hope y'all enjoyed the episode. Let us know what you think of Dariq Whitehead down below. Where do you have him going in the draft? Check out the other videos on our channel. And after the draft, check out our post-draft videos. We'll have stuff on every single team, every single pick in the first round. So be on the lookout for those right after the draft. We try to get them up first before anybody else on YouTube. So be on the lookout for that.